Gary GB2005 Bogdanski has taken the cliche "don't quit your day job" advice to heart, but not for the typical reason. Bogdanski is the equipment manager for the New Jersey Nets and also a highly successful poker semi-pro. He's made hundreds of thousands of dollars playing poker online in 2007 alone, but he sees no reason to quit the more traditional career that makes him happy. Among his poker accomplishments are the Best All-Around Player Award at the Full Tilt Online Poker Series 2 and a win in a big buy-in 5-card draw tournament the first time he'd ever played the game. And also a win in the Sunday Major on Full Tilt in December of '06, which earned him almost $80,000. Bogdanski is on the phone with us right now to give us some poker strategies and tell us what it's like killing on the digital felts and still having a day job. Alright, how you doing, Gary?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. So, right out of the gates, I'm going to ask you kind of a hard question. What makes you better than most other online poker players?
I guess that's a pretty good question. I don't know if I'm necessarily better than most people, but probably like most anything else in life, a lot of it comes down to practice and putting in hours at the table and just seeing hands over and over and recognizing situations. There comes a point where, I mean, working hard can only get you so far. I guess some people probably have a natural talent for it more than others, which I would probably say that I do. But most of it's just kind of hard work and seeing situations over and over and recognizing them and like that. My biggest strength is probably I feel that I'm able to adapt to a table very well, where a lot of people, they really struggle to adapt to their opponents. I'm pretty good at switching gears and pretty much trying to make life as difficult as possible for my opponents.
Well, kind of on that note, I was wondering how you go about figuring out things about other players and taking notes on them and all that. Like, what's your process to keeping good notes and remembering how other people play?
I'm really not that great with names, in all honesty. Over time, I obviously begin to recognize more and more players. I don't really keep that many notes on the better players. If I'm keeping notes, it more often than not, it's on the somewhat called bad players, who I don't remember them. I don't know if I'm ever going to play with them again, but if I do, I have a note on them, so I'm able to remember something. But the good players, we're playing together so much that I really we're not noticing anything.
Okay. And you had said, for the answer to the previous question, that you think that you're a pretty good player because you put in so many hours, and it has a lot to do with practice.
I don't know if it's putting in so many hours. I just think it's seeing situations over time and time.
Okay. Well, I mean, but you, unlike a lot of the online poker pros out there, have a day job, and have a day job that you want to keep. So you probably don't get in quite as many hours as a lot of them. Do you think that's a disadvantage to you in any way?
Definitely in some ways it's a disadvantage. I mean, obviously I'm seeing less situations than other people. But at the same point, I'm also playing less and probably being more fresh when I play. Mm-hmm. I really probably play almost the lowest level of any of the quote-unquote top players out there. So every time I do play, I try and not almost cherish it and take advantage of it and always give 110%. Where a lot of people, they're really not caring too much if they win because they know tomorrow they have a full schedule. Or I know I might not really get to play again for a couple of days. And some parts of the year, I might not get to play for a week or so. So I'm always trying to take advantage of that.
Do you think that these players that play all the time, then, do you think that they overextend themselves? Do you think that they kind of get wiped out a bit?
It depends on the player. Some people, they're like machines. They're just able to play day in and day out, like 6 to 7 days a week, like 10 hours a day. I don't know how they do it or how they make it work, or from a life perspective, how they have a life, but I really can't answer for that. But some of them seem to do it. But there's others who definitely, clearly, you can see they play better if they play less, and probably more profitable.
You've said before that the Card Player Online Player of the Year race is kind of tailored to players like you. What did you mean by that? Yeah,
well, I said that it was actually earlier in the year, and the reason I said that is because the player year, I think, is only for the tournaments over 100,000 prize pool.
Right.
Where the biggest day for that is obviously Sunday. That is the most tournaments, and that's kind of the one day I really try and force myself to sit down and play, or I usually have time to play with work, where during the week, obviously I'm not going to play nearly as much as a lot of people, and therefore I really struggle to keep up with some of these other ranking systems out there just because I'm not getting the volume with them. But with the Card Player of the Year for online, I almost have an equal footing. Unfortunately, now there's all these $1,000 tournaments on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, which kind of make my statement not true anymore. But and then come with the 1Ks, people start playing the 100 rebuy more, and that price will gets up there, and that's starting to qualify more and more now. So unfortunately, it's not so much tailored for me anymore, but it started out that way.
Yeah, and I mean, it also doesn't help that people like Sorel and Chad Batista are taking down these just huge big buy-in tournaments as well, along with playing so much that they can play in these 100 rebuys and the $1,000 buy-in tournaments. So it all seems to kind of, it seems like even the people that are playing a lot of tournaments are ending up at the top of the list as well. But you're right. I mean, you're currently 12th on the OPOY standings, if I remember correctly. And so
you called it unfair. I don't know if I would call it unfair necessarily. They're both tremendous players, and I don't want to be taking anything away from them. Mm-hmm. But sure, I mean, obviously, the more you play, the better, the more likely you are to do well in these rankings. I would love to see something out there one day that kind of makes profitability a big part of it,
right? And
not just cashes, but I know it's obviously easier said than done.
Well, and speaking of profitability, actually, what are your most proud accomplishments in poker?
I would say, to me, my proudest accomplishment isn't necessarily one tournament, so it's probably the consistency I've had over the past 2 years, just kind of doing well over a decently long period of time. Getting third in $1 million was great. That was actually pretty devastating to lose that to Wes Menlo. We both played pretty well, and the cards definitely went his way. That helped him. Winning the full tilt Sunday major was a pretty good accomplishment. I got, before I won it, probably like a month before, I got 5th or 6th, and that was nice to be able to rebound from that. Then being the overall winner in the F-Tops was a good accomplishment. It was kind of depressing. I probably got too much credit for it, being that I really didn't even win any tournament. I just kind of did well over a long series of tournaments. But I mean, in poker, it's all about winning, so I probably got more credit there than I deserved. Back in the day when Paradise Poker existed, I won their Sunday tournament as well. And everybody kind of jokes about me winning the 5-card draw tournament on Full Contact Poker. It was a $500 tournament. It was the first time I played it. I only played it because there was some kind of overlay on it, and I had no idea what I was doing. But by the second hour, I kind of picked up the basic game strategy of it and just kind of used tournament strategy at the end. I was lucky enough to have the cards run my way. All the time, though, when I'm playing in tournaments, when I'm playing on putting in a full session, I'm probably playing between 6 to 8 games. But I'm constantly checking hand histories, seeing what's going on, what the people had, sending them over to friends, receiving hand histories from friends, and talking about the hands, how we could have played them differently, what they would do in the situation. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the only time I'm really doing it. Once I'm done with poker, I pretty much try and almost completely forget about it in a way where I don't really want to think about it. Like, once it's done, it's over. I try and kind of separate it from part of my life. There's too many people, I think, who become obsessed with it and make it their whole life, and that's really not healthy. But I'm always amazed when I play with friends in my house, especially newer people, when they really don't even know the features available to go back and check the hand history and see what the other person had. Because a lot of times people just see someone mucking, and they think that the hand is over. You're never going to know what they had. But in fact, you can actually go check in the hand history, even though you won the hand, to see what they had, how the hand was played, and you learn so much that way. It's probably the biggest way I improve my game.
Just by checking to see what they had mucked?
Checking even hands I'm not involved in a big pot, just going back, scrolling down to the bottom, see what both people had, seeing how they play it. And after a while, you're going to see the same type of pattern that people playing the hands the same exact way.
Well, when you do end up actually going and analyzing a hand, how do you go about doing it? What's the process that you use, and what kind of hand would make you want to analyze it, or make you want to ask a friend a question about it?
I kind of try, when I'm playing, analyze as many hands as possible. Because again, the more situations you see, you're gonna begin to recognize patterns and see people doing the exact same things over and over. The biggest thing to kind of, when you're trying to make a decision whether you should raise, call, go all in, is to put people on different types of ranges and try and make a decision from there. I mean, everyone's going to make mistakes, but the key is to try and learn from them and not have it happen again in the future.
And there's a theory being floated out there that tight aggressive is the new loose aggressive, so to speak. In other words, the loose aggressive playing style isn't working as well anymore as it used to because so many players are doing it. Do you think that the poker meta game has shifted again?
Well, the game it's always changing. I mean, I want to say even from day to day that the game is constantly changing, where you're at the table, you kind of want to be doing the exact opposite of what the other 8 or 9 people are. So, I mean, to one extent, everyone's being really tight. You really want to open up your game and try and take advantage of that. But at the same point, if everyone's being a lunatic at the table and trying to play this loose style, which really very few people can do successfully, and you just have to do the opposite and tighten up or just wait for hands. And if everyone's playing like a maniac, you're going to get paid off, and you're going to end up being a profitable player. So the biggest thing is just adjusting to the table, in my opinion. But the game changes every day. I mean, after a while, people see a certain group of people winning nonstop, and that's not working. So everyone tries to adjust to that. But by the time everyone's adjusted to that, these people are already changing again, doing new things. So these people are one step ahead of the game, and the other people are kind of forced to try and catch up. It's probably not the most profitable thing to do.
Well, and you basically said that the game changes on a day-to-day basis more than a long period. But have you noticed anything that's happened kind of in a grand scheme of things way, or no?
More of just in playing styles. Like, I don't see any grand changes being made in the game. More, it's just to see how people play things differently. Like, more and more lately, it seems like every time someone just flat calls you, they always have aces now. When a year or two ago, you just thought that the person probably wasn't good and they didn't know what they were doing. And now it's just every single time they have aces, and it's very hard to decipher who has aces and who just is calling with a mediocre hand.
And you're the equipment manager for the New Jersey Nets, and you seem to kind of be pretty keen on keeping your day job, so to speak. Even though you've had a really lucrative career in poker so far, what is it about the job that keeps you there?
I grew up my whole life loving sports. I wanted to be a professional athlete. By the time I was in high school, I pretty much gave up with that and realized that wasn't going to happen. So I ended up going to Seton Hall to be a sports manager major. I interned at Major League Baseball in the city. Then ended up started working part-time with the Nets. And I pretty much fell in love with the organization. It's a great group of people, from the owners to the coaches, the management. It's just all around overall a great experience. I work with great people, and it's fun. I love my job. I don't need to be working. Poker does pretty well for me, but I enjoy it. Life isn't really all about money.
Well, and it seems that having a day job is more prohibitive for live play than for online play. Do you see yourself getting more involved in the live tournament circuit ever, or no?
I feel all the time that I'm losing money not playing these major tournaments. Very often I have people come up to me and they're just like shocked that I have a job. Like they don't really understand it. But I would like to play more live tournaments, but it's a compromise you have to make, which you have to, it's not a compromise, I'm sorry. It's a sacrifice you have to make with having a job, and I accept that. And there's times I'd like to play more live, but it's just really not a possibility. And I don't get to play live as much as I would like to, but I'm very happy the way things are. So, I really didn't answer your question. I would like to play more live at some point in my life. I'm not sure when.
Well, I was going to say, like, is it going to be basically when you retire, or Or do you actually see yourself switching it up?
I guess we'll kind of have to see how much I'm winning poker, what tournaments I'm winning over the next couple of years. But right now, I pretty much love my job and have no plans on leaving. So,
right. Well,
at this point, I don't see myself getting in the live hours that I would like to.
And I imagine, actually, that there are quite a few players like you out there who are good at poker but also don't necessarily want to quit their day jobs. Do you have any advice or suggestions for them?
The most important thing to me is just to be happy. I mean, do what makes you happy. Obviously, making lots of money is nice, and it's, in a way, it is somewhat important. But there's so many more important things out there. Mm-hmm. It's not the end of the world. And for some people, money is the end of the world. To me, it's not, and you got to do what makes you happy. I mean, for me, I also feel with poker, even though I do well, I don't feel I have to win. I don't feel I have a responsibility to play. Mm-hmm. I play when I want to. When I'm playing a tournament, I don't think if I don't win this tournament, I can't pay the bills. To me, I have a regular job. I look at them separately. I'm able to have things like benefits.
Do you have any advice for people that are just getting started in online poker? Just in general?
Probably take it slow and know your limits. Try not to get too. Don't try and get too involved in the biggest games right away. Take your time, work your way up. Find something that you like. I think, for me, I really almost never play cash games at all. Occasionally, if I'm bored, I'll play like a small 2-4, 3-6 game. But I'm also never playing those cash games at all. They're different mentalities. And especially if you want to play tournaments, it's so important for there's so much money to be made or lost in tournaments where it's a different mindset. And I find it helpful to only be focusing on the one kind of strategy. I've heard a lot of the top players say the same thing.
If someone, say, has like a $1,000 or $2,000 bankroll, so to speak, or at least $1,000 or $2,000 that they're willing to be comfortable losing playing poker, what kind of limits for tournament buy-ins do you think that they should be looking at? Like, what's the highest buy-in for both a rebuy and for a freeze-out that they should be looking at?
You're probably talking for $2,000 realistically. A lot of the bigger sites now, I'm not sure if I should be saying site names or not on this, but they have these $20 or $24 tournaments that get anywhere from 180 to thousands of people, where you're really only risking $20, but you're able to win a significant amount of money. The $5 rebuys, the $10 rebuys, don't go too crazy. They're pretty reasonable. But anything higher than that, you're really going to be able to start risking a significant portion of your bankroll, and that's probably not too smart. Especially when you're playing rebuy tournaments, you have to go with the mentality you want to spend a couple of buy-ins. You mean, when I play the 100 rebuy, I'm pretty tight with it. When I'm playing the $5 and $10 rebuy, I'm probably close to a lunatic. You probably shouldn't be playing that way when you're playing those tournaments. But I'm able to take a bunch of chances where it's not going to hurt me too much if I spend $100 or $200 in a $10 rebuy, going to get a lot of chips. Well, on the 100 rebuy, to me, the 100 rebuy is probably what the $5 or $10 rebuy is to these newer people starting out, and therefore, you can't be crazy, but you can't be able to spend money either. And if you're not comfortable playing and losing the money, you shouldn't be playing. Right. You really shouldn't be thinking about the money when you're playing at any point.
Let's say that someone's looking to jump into something like the Sunday Million or any of those other kind of high-profile $200 buy-in freeze-outs, what kind of bankroll would you suggest for someone that's going to want to directly buy into those?
Someone who's going to play them one time, or someone who wants to be playing them on a regular basis? Consistently
playing them.
Yeah, you're probably talking in the $10,000 range, probably.
Okay.
Approximately. Where if you lose the money, it's not a big deal.
All right, man. I think that's all the questions that I have for you. Thank you for joining us today, man.
I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too.
And that's all for this week. Thank you for watching The Online Zone on Card Player TV.